Brothers and sisters, Brother John here, watchman for that great day. I'd like to just give you a heads up, I guess. That's what I'm going to do. Give you the heads up. And what I see, and from where I'm sitting, I can, without being dogmatic and just saying this is absolutely it, there's no other way that I can see it at the moment. So let me be careful. So at the moment, as of today, February the 18th? February the 18th, Thursday, February 18th, 2016, according to all that has taken place between now and back to September the 23rd, 2015. The finishing up of the 4 blood moons were absolute signs that the Lord has given us. The 4 lunar eclipses, the blood moons, that finished in September with the total, the last lunar eclipse was on Tabernacles, and I can't remember the date, but it was after Atonement, of course. Atonement was the 23rd of September. The 23rd of September was, I truly believe with all my heart, that was, and I even made a video back then, maybe even 2, that was the time of the delay, the starting of the delay. All of the virgins were woken up. The whole church was watching. Everybody, even people that were outside of the church, were watching what's going to happen on September the 23rd, 2015. If you remember, everybody was watching. That speaks to me clearly that the virgins were all watching, the church. Okay? So the 5 that were wise, they, after the day went by, and a few days and a few weeks, they continued on, they continued to watch, they continued to exhort their brothers and sisters and not put them down and say, I'm done with this, and I'm not watching no more, and those date setters and all the things, okay? But the ones that are continuing to watch, which are you and I, and now we're at a point where another time, within this 6 months, between September and March, basically, September to October, November, December, January, February, March. You've got 6 months, all right? 6 months from September 23rd to the 23rd of March, okay? We're in a time where everything is pointing to Purim. This year there are 2 Purims. Because of the calendar they adjust, they make this particular time, there's 2 Purims because there's 2 months added to the calendar. It gets very confusing, and the basic the thought on that is that it's just to keep up with the lunar the lunar and the solar calendar year by adding the month, but it's more connected into the feast, or to the season, to the time of the springtime and the harvest, okay? I'm not going to go into that in this video. But what I would like to share with you is something that a brother of mine, John Lloyd, who lives in Oklahoma, and I love the brother dearly, and we talk quite a bit, and he has views, I have views, we share our views. But what I found yesterday, and I was sharing with him, which I realized that this is why I want to make this video, is if we go to Matthew 24, and we go down to 40, we can read it from 44. Actually, let's just read it from 42. Okay, 42. Watch therefore, for ye know not what hour your Lord doth come. But know this, that if the good man of the house had known in what watch the thief would come, he would have watched and would not have suffered his house to be broken up. Okay, so it's talking about watching, and it's talking about you're not going to know when the Lord's going to come, but you're going to watch and you're going to know. So there's a double thing there. One says you're not going to know, no man knows the hour of the Lord that he's going to come. But in the next verse, it's telling you, yeah, but if you watch, you're going to know, and you're not going to allow this day to come upon you, when you're not unaware. So if you're watching, you're going to see all this. Anyway, therefore, be ye ready, for in such an hour as you think not, the Son of Man cometh. Now watch as I read this and how it works. Okay, so you got, who then is a faithful and wise servant? This is going to describe who the faithful and wise servant is. So we got, who then is a faithful and wise servant, whom the Lord hath made ruler over his household, to give them meat in due season, to give them knowledge. Okay, meat is just a way of saying he's going to give you understanding and ability to see that day approaching. So who's the wise servant? The one that continues on and seeks God with all his heart and her heart and mind and soul, and loves the Lord with all their heart and their neighbor as themselves. But okay, who's the one that he's going to give the understanding to? The wise servant. Okay, which speaks over here to the wise virgin. Okay, so we go. So who is this faithful and wise servant whom the Lord hath made ruler over his household, to give them meat in due season, or understanding in due season? Blessed is that servant whom his Lord, when he cometh, shall find so doing. So we're to continue on, okay? We know there's a particular point where we're going to get to in a minute, okay? But it says, verily I say unto you, that he shall make him ruler over all his goods. In other words, he's going to give you reward. The reward is with him when he comes. But, and if, and here's the big kicker right here why I made this video. But, and if that evil servant, so the servant, it goes from being wise to becoming a mocker, which becomes an evil servant. If you mock somebody, if you come against your brother or sister, you're not fulfilling what Jesus said, to love your brother as love the Lord your God with all your heart, and your neighbor as yourself. We're all neighbors. People even outside of the body are neighbors. Okay, we're supposed to love all men as within our ability to love people. So it says, but and if the evil servant shall say in his heart, my Lord delayeth. Okay, there's a delay. My Lord delayeth. That was the day everyone was waiting for him to come, and what happened? He delayed. He didn't come. He didn't come. He didn't show up. We're still here. The rapture didn't happen. And what happened? Remember, at that point, that's when either you're going to become the wise, and you're going to continue on, and you have the extra oil. Let's go on. And it says, and shall begin to smite, okay, his fellow servant, all right, berate him with words and verbal and all that. I did a video. I'm remembering some of the things I said in that video, back around the September 23rd area, all right. Everyone was pretty upset that nothing really happened, although a lot happened. So anyway, we're still here, but we're continuing on. We have that extra oil. We're continuing on waiting. So it says, and shall begin to smite his fellow servant, and eat and drink with the drunken. Doesn't necessarily mean to get drunk, or just be like the world, okay? To be like the world. To go along with, all right, I'm done with this. I'm going to just live my life, and, the Lord's delaying his coming. It'll be someday, and I'm ready, supposedly, when he comes. Enough said. The Lord of that servant, it says, the Lord of not the wise, but the unwise, the evil servant. Okay, the Lord of that servant shall come in the day when he looketh not for him, because he's not looking. So if you turn away at a time when you should be watching, that's just what you call turning away. You're not looking. So. And of course, his son shall cut him asunder and appoint him his portion. And what's interesting about the word portion, it's exactly the words that are used in Esther. And in Esther, Purim is about, they would send portions one to another. Okay, they would send gifts or portions one to another. To the poor, usually it meant that they would share, the richer people would share their meat and food with the poor. But anyway, so it says, and so cut him asunder and appoint his portion with the hypocrites. Doesn't call him, this is what my friend John was telling me, he doesn't call him a hypocrite, doesn't call that evil servant a hypocrite. He appoints his portion with the hypocrites, okay, with the world, all right? You don't want to watch and follow, then you'll be left behind, okay? That's a critical aspect right there. So continue to watch and follow and trust Jesus is going to take you. Believe that he's coming. He is coming very shortly. I have more than enough evidence for my own self, and I'm probably trying to share this a little bit with you. But anyway, then we go down to the chapter 25 where we had the 10 virgins and the lamps and all that. And okay, so we're going to go to the delay, right? I'll start from 2. So 5 were wise, 5 were foolish. It says they that were foolish took their lamps and took no oil with them. You've got to wonder about taking no oil because, when you're a born-again believer, you have plenty of oil. And yes, you can be down at times and you can be somewhat depressed at times. That's just the human condition. But we know for a fact in our heart of hearts, that we've been born again and believe on Jesus Christ. We're not ever going to turn from him because he's never going to turn from us. He said, nothing can separate you from the love of God. We are loved by God. That just goes without saying when you know that Jesus died for your sin on the cross. So, but the wise, they took oil in their vessels, meaning they had plenty. All right, they understood for sure that Jesus is coming, whether he delays or not. He's going to come. He's going to come get us. All right, so while the bridegroom tarried, there's the delay. So then at September the 23rd, when everyone's waiting, that's when the tarrying began. That's what I see. Because everybody, and, I don't know how many people worldwide, I don't have a number, but it seems like everyone, that was looking forward to the rapture, having rapture dreams, and all the things that were anticipating because of the lunar eclipses that were following that, which was a major worldwide event. It was in Russia, it was in Czechoslovakia, it was France. Everyone was watching these lunar eclipses to see what would happen, all right, because it was all connecting into Jonathan Kahn and, all of the preachers that were talking about that time had the virgins, the church body, the believers, had them all woken up because something's going to happen. We don't know what, but something's going to happen. So when 23rd of September came, nothing happened. People fell by the wayside. All right, it goes more towards where the parable of the sower. Okay. Anyway, while the bridegroom tarried, they all slumbered and slept. Right? Yep. They all slumbered and slept. He was tarrying before. That just suggests to me he was tarrying before. Before what? He was tarrying before the time everybody thought. But the tarrying is coming to an end because these lunar eclipses are signs, and we're watching those signs. And then we come to that point, September 23rd, 2015, when the Pope is arriving and all the hoopla, everything's going on, and nothing happened. A lot happened, though. A lot happened. That was the midnight cry. That was the cry at midnight. Here we go. And at midnight, verse 6 in 25, Matthew 25, and at midnight there was a cry made, Behold, the bridegroom cometh. Go ye out to meet him. And all those virgins rose up and trimmed their lamps. The ones that had the extra oil, by the way, the ones that even though he didn't come, they said, he's got to be here. He's got to be coming soon, right? So now we're 6 months, almost 6 months. We're 5 months into that time frame of his delay, all right? And we were woke up at the 23rd of September, as I've said in my other videos. And the foolish said unto the wise, Give us some of your oil, for our lamps are going out. In other words, how can you still think, you've believed long enough, now it's time to give it up, How can you still think Jesus is coming? You know, I'm done with it. Say, because you have the faith to believe that it's got to be the end times, it's the end of days, it's the 4 lunar eclipse means something, and there were signs, and then all the things that happened during those lunar eclipses, the outbreak of Ebola, all these things were signs in a shadow, type and shadow of what is coming. All right, so it was kind of hard to just give it up and say, all right, nothing's going to happen. All right. So let me kind of get down here and read it up. So it says, but the wise answered, saying, no, not so. At least there not be enough for us. There's no way you can give, if someone doesn't have the faith to believe that this is it, then you can't give somebody that faith. The only thing you can do is point to all the things that are going on around the world. The fish die off, the animal die off, the strange weather events, the earthquakes, the volcanic eruptions, and all of the things that are just connecting into the days we live. Wars, rumors of wars, North Korea, South Korea, China, Russia, you go on with all the things that are happening, okay? But anyway, it says, and while they went to buy, in other words, once they went to learn more to try to see if they believed that this is the time, the bridegroom came, and they were not ready. And they that were ready, and they that were ready went into the feast, all right? Went in with him to the marriage, and the door was shut. And what's interesting is afterward came also the other virgins. So after the rapture, because the rapture is basically the wedding feast, all right, the marriage. So the marriage is at the time of the 5 virgins are taken, and the other ones that didn't have the faith to believe that this was the time, that this is the period of time spoken about historically, and there's evidence coming daily that if you look at the evidence, you can't deny that these are the days. Literally. I don't believe we have until this coming September, or we might, but I doubt that. Okay, I doubt it because of all the evidence coming in daily. All right, the closeness to the time of war, with the 350,000 troops that are now massing on the border of Syria. Okay, depending on where those troops come from, Russia has already said that they would use tactical nukes. There's emergency broadcast messages pre-recorded that have been given to stations in the UK and the United States that suggest they warn that a nuclear detonation has taken place. This is already pre-recorded and given to stations. So there's something going on behind the scenes is all I'm saying. And if you're so naive that you don't believe that that the powers that be are setting things in motion, you can't live in this world and not see what the powers that be, the bankers and the elites and the those that run the world. If you don't see the way things have been going you can look back in history and see the way things are and see how it is now. So we're right before the end. Literally, we're right before the end, okay? Over the next 20 days, okay? March the 23rd, I said originally, from September 23rd to March 23rd is 6 months. So the delay could be as long as 6 months. It could be shorter. But we're in that time frame. So we really need to watch. We really need to be aware and be watchful and be part of the wise virgins, believing that this is the time, because it is. So I'll leave it at that. This is I just wanted to basically share my heart with you about that, and I hope it's blessed you. So God bless you and have a great day. Brother John out.